Welcome to the Nameless Blog, starring your host, myself, Dr. Kyle S. Berkeley. I am glad to be here. I made it a point to do a blog every week, and I didn't want this week to go by without doing the next entry into this blog series. I've got a few things to cover, which I'm very happy about. First, let's talk about what happened yesterday. All cards on the table. I have been a part of a group called Swear, and we have been fighting to end the discrimination and racist practices of the ASWB clinical exam. Well, the ASWB's clinical and master's level license exam. There were some data that came out last year. I want to say August, but I believe it came out earlier in the year, like around April or May. But I'm going to just say August just to be safe. But the data came out and it showed a disproportionate pass fail ratio between African Americans and white Americans or Caucasian or European Americans, whatever term you want to use, which is fine. And in that time frame, the ASWB kind of wanted to double down and stand behind this 40-point differential gap. And there were a lot of places all over the US, different states that was like, hey, look, we've been clamoring for this data for a while and you put it out and we're not surprised, but we're more surprised that you guys are doubling down and then trying to threat this multi-state, I forget the term that they used. Um, but basically what they were trying to do is what's happening at this very moment is they're trying to make it so that a social worker can practice in all 50 states and it's a standardized license exam. And so if I'm here in Maryland, I could go to New York or Massachusetts or California or Texas to practice, which it sounds great if there wasn't evidence of the bias. Because before it was just denying, like, oh, there's nothing wrong with the exam. We have all these people working on this panel for the exam, and kind of find out where A could be true, B is also true. And it's no stranger to our people about standardized testing and it's created bias, right? You have IQ exams, you have SATs, the standardized testings that they do starting in third grade, the reason why they build prisons to begin with, well, how they know to build more prisons, because they could project off the standardized testings done in third grade. So it's no stranger or nothing that's completely out of the realm of possibility. It's just amazing that they wanted to double down and be like, well, if you do that, if you guys want to push back on this, we're going to stop this thing that they're calling the compact, which is basically the standardizing of these two exams, the LMSW exam and the LCSWC exam, across all 50 states. So what we did with Square was we really pushed for these two pieces of legislation to go through the Senate and the House, and I was able to testify yesterday along with some remarkable people, and I testified in favor of both bills that were presented by Senator Washington. Thank you so much for sponsoring the bill. And we met some opposition. We met some opposition by the Maryland board and by the NASW, sadly. Well, actually, I'm not sure if the NASW is in opposition. I kind of want to slash that part. I don't want to say the NASW was in opposition, but you don't you don't want to do harm to the public, which is definitely true. But what's also true is there's no proof that this clinical exam prevents that harm. You have a lot of people who are dumb in practice and horrible in the field, and are very great at test taking, which is sad. Then you have people who are prolific clinicians, but you create a standardized test and you're saying, hey, your answers are A, B, C, or D. And it's a very objective test, but we work in a field that's very subjective. My field being social work. I'm a mental health therapist, for those that don't know. And you create some barriers. So I'm really glad how things went yesterday. I'm really glad the people that were for this bill weren't just clinicians, It was a large number of clinicians, but we also had the public that was saying, "Hey, look, we don't need this barrier, and we need to really look at this barrier and see how we can improve it." And these two bills definitely help with that. Meanwhile, the opposition, they brought a lawyer, another lawyer, and their groups, but they didn't bring anybody from the community that who would quote unquote be affected. And you have places like Illinois and Utah who've already passed legislation that we're fighting for currently. And Illinois passed it early on, and there's no harm to the public. Also, there are a lot of people who practice who were grandfathered in, never had to take this license ever before. And they're the ones that are trying to fight to say you need to take this license. Like, well, hold up. Before I do it, you go do it. How about that? You give back all the money you've earned and you go take the test now. How about let's do that? Let's start there and see what happens. I'm saying that facetiously, but low key, I really feel that way. But anyway, that's thing number one. Thing number two I want to talk about is the tour dates that are coming up, which I'm very happy about. There is some slight changes. Um, One is the Books a Million at Myrtle Beach Mall. I will not be there now. There's a change that's happening with that, which I'm glad about. I was able to talk to the staff at Books a Million, and it looks like that's being taken off because of the amount of volume or customers that they see a day. They didn't think that would be a good fit for me, and they didn't want to waste their travel there for not having a pretty good turnout. And instead, they offered me three high volume stores, which I'll be announcing the dates for that very soon. And as soon as I get the dates confirmed, I will announce it, and I'll also update it on the Instagrams, the Facebooks, the Twitters, everything else. I'm on TikTok, I guess. That also, the reviews are rolling in for The Void, which is phenomenal. And again, 5 out of 5 books a hit. I've been telling everybody for the longest time this is going to be a dope series, and right out the bat, The Void, it just nails it. It nails every beat, and I'm very excited about May 1st when the Legacy comes out. You can now do your pre-orders. It's currently at Barnes and Nobles for pre-order, and it should be on Amazon for pre-order. I would say by the close of business Monday. I want to say at latest. It could be close of business today. Don't quote me on that. But I would say at least by Monday, close of business, it should be up for pre-order. Where you could do your pre-order for your Kindle and for a paperback. And I'm a huge fan of paperback. I just love touching a book. I'm more of a filler in that way instead of just reading it off of a phone or whatever. That's just how I've always been. Plus, you can sign a book, So while I'm touring and Legacy comes out, Legacy be out while I'm on tour. If you happen to bring Legacy to the tour spots, I'll sign it. I'll be more than glad. And I really can't wait to talk about it, just because there's a certain build towards the antagonist in a Legacy that has been going on all the way back to the Wake. And I really can't wait for people to read it and be like, oh, didn't see that coming, but it totally tracks. Totally tracks. So I'm really looking forward to that. Currently, I'm working on The Union, which is the third part in this series, this 4-book series. And it's I will say it's not the easiest book I've written. I will honestly admit that. And I say that for a good reason. There's so many nuances and details and building and closing of stories that I have to do with the Union. And there's a lot of payoffs I have to do in the Union, which makes it not the easiest book to write. Um, and also knowing that the book after that, the transition is to close out to the series. So there's a lot of things that have to happen, story beat wise, character development wise, that really have to hit everything on the head. And I'm definitely not rushing this because, like I said, I like writing my books two at a time, like side by side. So while I'm working on this, I'm also working on transition. And what there's a lot of pieces on here that have to hit perfectly, and I think it's gonna come to right. It's coming together perfectly. Um, I'll leave it at that. It's coming together perfectly. Right. And what I'm talking about for those that may have missed it, I'm talking about The Union, which would be the third book in this series. Right now, the Void is out. That's the first book in the series. The second book in the series is done. It'll be out May 1st. That's the Legacy, and I'm really looking forward to that. Again, I will have some paperback copies on sale while I'm touring. Starting in a couple weeks, I'll be in Chicopee, Massachusetts, at the Good Works Coffee House. Can't wait to see you there. And then the week after that, I'll be in Washington D.C. at the Howard University Barnes and Nobles. So, two great signings, two places I'm really looking forward to being at to kick off this tour. And this tour starts in Massachusetts, it ends in South Carolina, and we're hitting everywhere in between. We're hitting New Jersey, we're hitting New York, we're hitting Virginia, we're hitting North Carolina, we're hitting South Carolina, and again, I mentioned Georgia, we're hitting Atlanta. Looks like we're going to be hitting two places in Atlanta, which I'm very glad about. And there was a Delaware signing that I have to circle back on before I could confirm, just because there were some changes at the venue that happened. So once that is confirmed and everything's set in stone, I'll come back and I'll mention on this weekly blog that we're doing. Also, we talked about the tour, we talked about the union, we talked about, which I'm actually shocked that I jumped so far ahead and talked about the union. We talked about the Legacy, which is coming out. We talked about the reviews that are pouring in, which I'm very happy about. And there's some things happening behind the scenes, which I'll talk more about once we get some things pinned in, as far as what's going on with the series, maybe happening on the screen near you soon. And there's a Kickstarter in play right now about that, possibly making this into a series. So very happy about that. And I think I'm about to close it out soon. But I wanted to give some thanks before I do. And there are two people I want to give thanks to. First person is Stacey Doy. Stacey Doy, for those who don't know, has been an artist that's been rocking with me all the way since The Wake, who did the cover art for The Wake, The Void, the Legacy, the Union, and the Transition. She also did the Bold Print logo for the publishing company Bold Print. She also did my banners that you'll be seeing. Well, she did the one banner that I was doing when I was promoting The Wake, and while you see me on tour, you'll see these other banners that I have up. She also designed the logos for that. She designed a lot of the promo work I've done. I also want to thank Blue Butterfly for their work that they've done for my website, kyleSberkeley.com. And we're working on something for Bold Print now because there have been a lot of people that have reached out to me asking about publishing through Bold Print. They really like what we're doing over here as far as shooting trailers, buying ad space on Amazon and Google, et cetera, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all the places that we bought ad space on. So they really like that. They like the fact that how we are exploring using podcasts as a way of promotions as well. Uh, for those that don't know, we have been behind the scenes purchasing ad space on different podcast platforms and even going on podcasts as guests and speaking. Lately, I've been on the Bingers Assemble podcast, talking about the Creed movies. So, again, I'm glad about that. Also, I want to thank Natasha Miller with KNT Graphics. She's been helping a lot with making sure everything happens in a timely manner, with the whole process with having to republish the void, I should say. It, it has been something because Bold Print was an idea, and we were going to slow walk it, And the whole tour thing is why we had to jump from Liftbridge, who did a phenomenal job putting the Void out, onto our platform, Bullprint, just because of the whole distribution piece. Nothing else. But um, Natasha has done a phenomenal job over at KNT Graphics. She's done a phenomenal job making sure everything has been going through and making sure that the pre-orders for the Legacy are available ASAP, so that way people can go out and um and purchase early their copy of the Legacy. And stay tuned. We'll talk more about the Legacy. I do want to have people on just to do Q&As and stuff like that about the Void, about the Legacy. I do want to say the Legacy is a total spoiler for everything that happens in the Void. So I would encourage you to read the Void first before jumping into the Legacy, because it starts off just spoiling everything and it does not stop. Like it goes in. Honestly, the Union as well, where we're at, where I'm at writing the Union wise, the first 4 chapters in is a lot of spoilers and a lot of payoffs to a lot of things that's happened all the way back to the wake. So let's see. I think I'm going to end it there. I think that's a good place to end. Again, tour dates are available. I'll be up and down the East Coast. We're going to be setting up a West Coast tour as well. I think I'm going to wait until the Legacy come out before I start announcing tour dates on the West Side and the Midwest. But I'm definitely taking invitations for that. If anybody has a venue that they would like me to come set up shop in and speak, read, talk about the wake, talk about the void, talk about the legacy, I'm all for. And also talking about things that we do in the community, because there's a lot of work to be done and that we're going to continue doing. And the fight's never over. Like, one thing I do like about this series is, while it is fun, it is entertaining, we are telling stories that happen in our community, and we're telling it in a way that it's A, entertaining, but B, you're able to get why certain things are systematic, and you get why certain things need to have some pushback. And with that, I say peace.